Phoebe, where are you, Phoebe? Up there. Could you come down to our hot seat? Because you asked a good question, which I've sort of mentioned a little bit about. So, okay. The question Phoebe asks is the sin of inaction worse than the potential sin of experimentation with courses of action, which I'm unsure of, or I'm unsure of the outcome of, or unsure of my own intention of doing? This is a question about, is it better to do something than it is to do nothing? Really, isn't it? Yeah. What do you reckon it might be? Do something, yeah. Why is doing something better than doing nothing? That's a good question, isn't it? Well, because doing something will bring a result of some kind, right? And remember I said this, the sin is already in you as a desire, right? It's the desire present. It's not the action. So let's say you choose to take an action. What's that action based on? It's based on the desires that are already present in you. Can you see that? So you choose to take an action. You think it's a good action. You choose to take it, but then you get some painful results. What's that telling you?
Yeah, it was the desire was not loving.
No, it's not telling you that. See, you all wanted to say that, but it's not telling you that. What is it telling you? It's not telling you that the desire was wrong, because you might have had a desire that was actually pure in that moment and you took an action and you got a painful response. How did the painful response come? Could it be that while the desire was good, parts of the desire was good, other parts of it were not so good? Could it be that? Most probably is, right? Because this is where most of us go. Most of us have a very black and white thing about our experiments. So what we do is this, we go, right, I'm going to choose to take this specific action, and I take the action, and then I get a negative result. Now, just to give you an example of that, I hear it's really, really good to be truthful at all times. Truth. So I remember that, and I go, man, that sounds really appealing. I would really like to learn how to do that. That sounds like it would be quite a lot of freedom in that. It sounds like it might have some advantages, right? So your partner comes along and says to you, oh, what do you feel about me doing this? And in the past, you would have just gone, well, you can do what you want. That's fine. But now, because you're being truthful, you say, well, you've asked me what I feel, and this is what I feel. I feel you're a bit of a stupid idiot doing that, right? Because the reason why is it because of this and that and this and that. Like, you know, that's what I feel, right? So before you would have just shut up and just gone, whatever. And now you're saying the truth that you feel. Now, it's your truth. It's not the truth, is it? It's not God's truth. You've just said what you feel. He or she asked you what you feel, so you have to say what you feel. Like when you guys ask me, do you believe in earth change events? I go, yeah. Right? You asked me, and I still believe in them. So I'm going to go, yeah, I might be wrong. I've said that. Right? But you asked me for the truth of how I feel, which is different to the truth of how God feels, isn't it? And if you ask somebody for the truth of how they feel, then you should be prepared to get the answer of the truth about how they feel, right? Which is how they really feel, whether it's angry, upset, you know, bitter, twisted, whatever it is they feel. And if you're honest and truthful now, you're experimenting with this whole truth idea, you know, which is really out there for the world, really, you would say what the truth is. Now then they go, well, now you're just being a bitch and like you know, that's not very nice. Why do you feel all those things for? Now you're just trying to stop me from doing what I wanted to do, you know, and they carry on at you now. And so now you're getting some painful responses, right, from the person. So what do you decide next time? They come up and ask, you know, how do I look in these? Right? And what do? Well, you got to tell them a whole heap of crap because this is what you think, right? This is what we do. We think that telling them the truth was the problem. But it's not the problem. The problem is there's a number of things. Firstly, my truth could have been distorted. So I'd have to have a look at that, wouldn't I? The whole principle of telling the truth is still good, isn't it not? So why would I stop telling the truth the next time? It's because I don't understand where the distortions came in. My truth might be distorted. Their response might be distorted. Do you see? There could be lots of things that are going on that cause the response that are nothing to do with the truth. But I'm tempted now to blame telling the truth as the problem. Now, if we get back to your desire, so you desire to do what you believe is a good thing, but you get some negative kickback for it. Does it mean the original idea was a bad idea? Not necessarily. It could mean that there was a part of the original idea where you needed something from people, or you needed them to honour your decision, and that part of it was bad. But the actual intention was good. You see what I'm saying? Because frequently when we decide to do something, we decide to do something with a whole lot of mixed emotion in it. God's trying to help us sort it all out and sort out which bit of that is wrong or a sin, out of harmony without love, but which bit of it is good. So when I first started teaching, I go, well, you know, this whole thing of me having to say I'm Jesus, that's a bad thing, right? Because to be frank, everybody that's ever heard me say that generally has gone through months, if not years, of doubt about everything I say because I said that thing, right? If I didn't say that thing, we'd have tens of thousands of people listening to Divine Truth by now. But because I say that thing, it's still not very many people, right? Because everyone has that mistrust. So I could have said right at the beginning, I really want to teach this truth. I know I'm Jesus, but I'll just keep that to myself. Right? Couldn't I? Right? Now, if I have done that, I would have got perhaps a better result than we're getting now. Seemingly better result that I'm getting now, because it meets everybody's addictions to not be confronted by that issue. Right? But at the end of the day, it was going to work out pretty bad, wasn't it? Down the track at some point, if someone honestly asks me, who do I think I am? Right? Then I'd have to say, wouldn't I? Or what do I say? No comment. Which is what the politicians nowadays say, don't they? Or someone, you know, who's on the witness bench, you know, no comment, no comment, no comment, you know. Now, what I realised is that God's going to refine, if I take an action that I believe to be right and I can see through my own analysis of God's laws already at this stage that it is a right course of action. It's in harmony with love, it's in harmony with truth. It's driven by a desire that is pure and not motivated by any selfishness. It's not motivated by a desire to receive adulation. In fact, me saying I'm Jesus usually receives a lot of pretty bad attack. So I'm certainly on that issue pretty clear, you know, that me saying that I'm Jesus is not driven by an impure desire, because the reality is I would like to not say that I am still at this stage because I haven't fully worked through the emotion. But God is going to purify my desire. So I get up in front of a bunch of people, let's say, and I've decided I'm never going to say I'm Jesus. And I did do this right at the beginning. So I start talking about divine truth, put it all aboard, you know, all this secrets of the universe stuff generally right at the beginning. And sooner or later, every single presentation, you know what someone would do? How do you know all this? And what do you say to that? Like, no comment. Which is what most of you probably would have done, right? Yeah. Yeah.
With the examples you've used, so your intention, you know that your intention is pure or good?
Not always. No, I didn't know. See, my intention to not say who I was not pure. was it? Can you see why? Because it's allowing people to believe the lie without saying the lie. Do you see what I'm saying? So I got sorted out, very first presentation. God sorted me out. The person who put up their hand sorted me out.
So you should take action on any desire that you have rather than, because I feel like I've just sat and sat and sat on any desire for so long and it's caused a lot of pain.
To be honest, Phoebe, with you, I've seen you start taking some desires. You know, the website you put up about miscarriage, a lot of really good things you've done there. You've taken some desires and you've run with them. And in that process, you're going to get some people, you know, attacking and some, you know, there's all sorts of things that will help purify your desire. I've had to go to the stage where I realise that not everybody does want to hear the truth, even though the truth is such a happy thing. Not everybody wants to hear it, you know. I've had to realise how much spirit influence there is on the planet wanting to distract people from truth, you know. And these are things that you learn by taking action, putting into action your desire, taking the actions, and then letting God tell you things through taking the pure action. So most of us do know what pure actions are, and then we take them, but because we get mixed results, we then believe the original pure action must be faulty. And it's not true. Like, I could have got up there and gone, yes, I'm teaching all this divine truth. The person put his hand, and I could have said, no comment, right? Could have said, no, I don't want to talk about that. Right? Now, in time, God would have shown me that that was just wrong. But fortunately, I was sensitive enough to the ethics of it right from the beginning to not get into that trap. Does that make sense? But, you know, I would have, like, for the first few groups, that's what happened until I openly disclosed up front. And from then on, I never got that question ever again. Ever. The law of attraction now showing me, no, I'm on the right path now. I'm being honest about things. Make sense? So you've got to follow your pure desire. So your answer to the question is inaction worse than the potential sin of experimentation? It's not a sin to experiment. The sin already exists in you. So let's say you take an action because you want people to know about miscarriage in your case, right? You take an action. Now, you know it's going to be a bit tricky, don't you, how people will respond to that particular subject, given the fact that you're talking about the mother's emotions. So that must be motivated pretty well, because otherwise you probably wouldn't even bite it off in the first place, would you? Right? So the original motivation must be pretty good. So any sin that's in you, like let's say you're looking for somebody to really adore you for doing it, and you find a whole series of people don't adore you initially as a result of what you're doing, and that tells you, the issue is not the fact that I'm doing it, because that's a good thing. The issue is that I need adoration. And once I give up this need for adoration, you might find you get some adoration actually, you know, or some appreciation for what you do. So, you know, these are things you go through, and you've got to realise that the experimentation is not the sin. The sin is usually already in you, and God is trying to help get it out of you. When you do something, you will see that it's tainted by the sin that's already in you. Don't stop doing, just purify the action by removing the sin. Do you see? Instead of just stopping altogether and not doing anything. Because you can stop altogether for years. I've seen people do it for a long time.
Yeah, I already feel like I want to with that desire. Like
Yeah.
I can feel that there's some desires in me that are pure, like with that one, because it felt good. Like I felt good.
Yeah, but see, in time, you do it first and it feels good, and then you get some negative responses, which is normal. That's now triggering the sins that are in you, which now say, let's give it all up let's give up this original good desire. Does that make sense? And that's not what God's trying to do here. He's trying to help you refine or purify your original desire, because it's a great thing to do. A great thing to do. Like I said, there's 150 million miscarriages on this planet every year. Surely it would be nice for women to find out why that's happening. Truthfully find out why that's happening. So, there's 150 million mothers who are grieving every year. There's 150 million children arriving in the spirit world without development every year. Now, that's a big problem. Anything you can do to repair it is a great thing, so that's a good motivation. So if it's now not working very well because there's some attack coming from mothers or some people belittling you as a result of it, that's normal. That's what is happening to help you purify your desire, to get away from needing the approval of other people before you do something. Does it make sense? Needing the acceptance of people before you think you've done a good thing. You've done a good thing. If you ask God about it, I'm pretty sure he'll tell you, you've done a good thing, girl. Do you know what I mean? Just got to purify these desires about, needing everyone to agree or needing everyone to feel good about what you're saying. You got to get away from that. That's what he's asking you to release now. So it's being identified, release it.
It's just confusing because, I said I stopped that action, and so it kind of just shut down. But then I feel like there's desires in other areas of my life that are opening up too. I feel somehow a little bigger or something. Like I want to do other things as well, and I'm just worried. I just feel afraid that the influences are not good, because I've started some good things and then these other unrelated influences are maybe pulling me away.
Well, that can happen. It can happen where, you start something good and it can turn into something bad because you're not purifying your underlying desires for doing that good thing in the first place. So let the process continue. One thing I see is that most people think of a good thing, they take some initial action to do that good thing, and when it doesn't work out how they expect, and let's face it, most of us expect everything to just go smooth and easy and nice. When it goes smooth and easy and nice, we say, the universe loves me for doing that thing, which is a bunch of crap really, because there's a whole heap of people who are just supporting your addiction doing that thing. But when you're really doing something that's going to change the world, there's very few people initially that's going to agree with you. So we've got to get used to that as, no, I'm going to sit out on this ledge. I don't know if you've ever seen that picture, in the States, how there's that mountain that's got this great big ledge on the end. My brother went there one time and he sat right on the edge like that, 5,000 feet, I think it is, down, and, down to the valley. And he's just sitting there on the edge. He took a picture and apparently someone recently fell off it. But you imagine that's how you're living your life, really sitting on the edge, right? People are going to criticise that. So I'm not suggesting you do that physically on that ledge, but I'm suggesting you do that with the choices and decisions you make in your life, where you sit on the edge, you focus on what is the good thing to do, you go ahead and do it. You're going to love doing it until everyone starts hammering you for it. And then you've got to work through your emotions about, how you feel about people not agreeing with you, how you feel about people not approving of you, how you feel about not being adored and loved for what you did, how you feel about doing something which took a lot of effort and nobody really appreciates it. You've got to work through all those things. That's how you purify your desire, you see? Make sense? So, take the action. Don't sit there and do nothing. Sitting there and doing nothing is a big mistake. Biggest mistake people make, actually, is to sit there and do nothing. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Phoebe. Good question. Your